Hi everyone, I am here with a story. This is another story from Where Miracles Happen, True Stories of Heavenly Encounters from Guidepost. This story sounds really good. It's called A Rainbow from Andy. Sounds like it's about a little kid. We'll see. And there's a little quote that goes with it. It says, "He is not dead." And it is by James Whitcomb Riley. And it says, "Think of him still as the same, I say. He is not dead. He is just away." That's right. He's just in heaven waiting. He was 11. Okay, let's get through this one without crying. When 11-year-old Andy Bremner came home from a camp for cancer patients, he brought a little sun catcher for his mother Linda. It was a plastic rainbow, one of her favorite symbols. Mine too. Linda barely glanced at the gift, however. A Wisconsin hospital had just informed her that Andy was a candidate for a bone marrow transplant, and she was intent on packing quickly. She had no idea how long they would be staying, but the sooner she got her sick son on the road toward hope, the better she would feel. In Wisconsin, Linda rented a small apartment, but she spent most hours at the hospital, first cheering Andy on through his transplant, later sitting anxiously by his bed. She prayed for his healing, as she had done constantly since the beginning of his illness. But God remained silent, the aloof, faraway God of her childhood. And although the transplant was successful, the preceding 4 years of chemotherapy and radiation had taken a toll on Andy. That chemo and stuff is horrible. It makes you feel so much worse. Hey, most people that's died in my family have died of cancer. And I've taken care of people in my family that's had cancer and died of cancer. That's went all through their body. It started out in one place, and they say it's gone. It keeps coming back and coming back and coming back, whether it's a year later or 20 years later. And it ends up going all through you every single time. I just lost a friend not too long ago, this year, from cancer. Started out as breast cancer. And chemo just makes you, if you know you're going to die anyway and the chemo ain't going to help, the chemo just makes you deathly ill for the time you got left. It's horrible. Your hair falls out. You're always constantly sick. That was the experience that I had with people I was around anyways. Heartbreaking. Young and old. Instead of growing stronger, he seemed to slip further away. One morning, desperate for something to interest Andy and keep his mind off his increasing pain, Linda browsed through the hospital gift shop and found a prism, a little light reflecting ornament. "Here's a rainbow maker, Andy," she said as she presented it to him. "Now you could make one for me." Remember, he already did. Weakly, Andy surveyed the prism. "I don't feel like it, Mom," he said, letting it fall out of his limp fingers. That's so sad. "Sure you do, Andy." Linda pressed him. "Come on, hold it up to the sun and make one for me, please." Andy's eyes were half closed. "Mom," he murmured, "someday I'll make you a rainbow like you've never seen before." Don't mess up my mascara. Stop it. "That's great, honey." Linda tried to sound enthusiastic, but Andy had already fallen asleep. Days dragged by, and Andy got thinner. He had been put on a respirator, and toward the end of his 7th week in the hospital, he became comatose and was taken to intensive care. Linda phoned family members and asked them to come to Wisconsin. The time was drawing near. Andy was unconscious for a week, but Linda stayed near him, constantly still hoping for a miracle. God, heal him, she continued. She continued to pray, I'll do anything you ask, but God seemed elsewhere. Just before dawn, on the morning of August 31st, Andy's breasts grew further and further apart. One of his physicians had come and now spoke gently to Linda. If you consent, we can take Andy off life support. No! Linda knew there had been brain seizures, that the child she had known was forever gone. But if God gave her a miracle right now, if he spared her son's life, she'd take Andy in any condition. God, please. But God didn't answer. It was dark in the room, and for the first time since Andy had slipped into a coma, Linda reached to open the blinds to the grayness outside. I want to see the sun when it comes, she told the doctor and her gathering family. As the blinds parted, Linda saw, mounted on the glass, the same kind of rainbow sun catcher that Andy had brought her from camp. Oh, that had been such a hopeful day, with the transplant and possible cure waiting just ahead. But the dream was over. Now sitting in the bedside chair where she'd been for this seemingly endless week, Linda gathered her frail son into her arms. Fight, Andy, she started to whisper. Come on, you can do it. But even as she formed the words, she knew that it wasn't the right message anymore. Oh, Andy. Tearfully, she cuddled him and whispered through the semi-darkness, You fought hard enough. Oh my God. You fought hard enough. Now it's time for all of us to let go. Go home now, honey. Go home. For just a moment after his tubes were disconnected, Andy continued to breathe. One breath, two, and then silence. Linda felt a sense of surrender. He's yours now, God, she thought. This is not waterproof. Suddenly, as the rising sun peeked over the hill, its light hit the little ornament on the window, and in a glorious burst of color, the plastic rainbow multiplied, becoming 4, 8, 30 rainbows, filling the room with brilliance and life. Like a joyful explosion, the arcs just danced, bounced, leaping through the plastic tubes, swirling across the blanket in a kaleidoscope of reds and blues and greens, as if God had sent 1,000,000 prisms to magnify his rays. The display went on and on, as everyone stared in amazement. It was a rainbow like Linda had never seen before. Just like Andy said he would give her one day. I knew this one was going to get me. In that moment, she says now, I said goodbye to Andy and hello to God, perhaps for the first time. He wasn't someone out of a book or someone my parents had told me about. Now he was mine. He had taken Andy to a better place, and he was going to be with me always. He had just told me so. Several weeks later, Linda was cleaning out Andy's drawers when she found a little address book with a list of other kids at the cancer camp. Remembering how much Andy had liked getting Mel when he was sick, Linda stood for a moment holding the book. What if she wrote a cheerful note to each child as a sort of legacy to Andy? They would love it. She was still thinking about it the next day when her mail came, bearing a colorful sympathy card from a friend, with a line that read, "You are welcome to share my rainbow." Linda remembered Andy's multicolored path into heaven. She reached for a sheet of paper and began to write. I wish they had the address. I would love to write to them. Over 1,000 chronically ill children were on Linda's mailing list when she died in 2006. That might have been the end of love letters, but by then Linda had involved several people in her mission, including Caitlin Channa. Caitlin was a Florida 8th grader when she met Linda while doing a community service project. She was intrigued with Linda's work and with her encouragement. Caitlin formed 2 chapters of love letters. At the close of one of our phone conversations, Linda told me, "It only takes one person to move a mountain, and then others will follow." Caitlin says, "While I didn't know exactly what she meant at the time, I wrote her a beautiful quote in my book to always remember." When Linda died, Caitlin realized that the opportunity had come. It was her turn to move the mountain. For over 8 years, Caitlin was the president of Love Letters, Random Cards of Kindness, a national profit organization whose mission was to create positive and inspirational homemade cards for children with life-threatening illnesses. Each card was created by hand using stamps, stickers, scrapbook paper, and art supplies, and offered an uplifting message. Some cards were hand-delivered and others were sent to hospitals and organizations such as Give Kids the Word and the Ronald McDonald House, so people there could distribute the messages. Sick children need more than medicine. They need love and support from their families, friends, and love letters pen pals, says Caitlin. I'm going to look up that place. Let me write that down real quick. Random Cards of Kindness. I'm going to look it up and see if I can get the address so I can do that. I love doing stuff like that. Be right up my alley. I absolutely love it. And I used to love doing scrapbook stuff, but I'll have to get some scrapbook paper. I got a bunch of craft stuff back there. Oh, I would love it so much. So if you guys want to look it up too, see if you can find the address. We got... Let me write this down and I'll tell you what all the names are. Okay, so Random Cards of Kindness Incorporation, Give Kids the World, and Ronald McDonald House. That's the ones I got wrote down that I'm going to look up. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I hope you guys have a great night's sleep. Good night, guys.